पिछले कल देश के कानून मंत्री ने पत्रकार वार्ता में कुछ बातें कही, आरोप भी लगाए जो बेबुनियाद हैं, तथ्य उनको नकारते हैं। उन्होंने कल ये कहा कि 2013 में गोल्ड को इंपोर्ट करने के लिए एक नई नीति बनाई गई, जिससे देश का नुकसान हुआ और कुछ लोगों का फ़ायदा हुआ, और उसमें बैंक घोटाले में जो फ्रॉड हुआ है उसमें शामिल एक कंपनी भी उससे लाभान्वित हुई। पहली चीज़, देश के मंत्री को ये मालूम होना चाहिए कि नीति किसी कारोबार और किसी कंपनी के लिए नहीं बनती सरकार की। दूसरा, जो एक्सपोर्ट इंपोर्ट पॉलिसी है वो फाइनेंस मिनिस्ट्री के पास नहीं। एक्सपोर्ट इंपोर्ट पॉलिसी, जिसको एग्जिम पॉलिसी कहते हैं, जो 2009 में लाई गई थी, 2014 तक थी, और उससे पहले की भी जो एग्जिम पॉलिसी थी, उसमें भारत में सोने का इंपोर्ट या आयात, उसमें एक काफ़ी छूट थी, ड्यूटीज़ और टैक्सेस की नहीं, पर जो सोने के, जवाहरात के और या गहनों के कारोबार में लोग काम करते हैं, ज्वेलरी में, वो सोना ला सकते थे। और देश में निरंतर सोना आता रहा। भारत एक ऐसा देश है जहाँ सबसे ज़्यादा गोल्ड इंपोर्ट होता है दुनिया में, और सबसे ज़्यादा जो डिक्लेयर्ड गोल्ड होल्डिंग्स हैं वो भारत के पास हैं। कुछ बरस पहले इनको अबव द ग्राउंड कहा जाता है, गोल्ड होल्डिंग्स ऑफ इंडिया वर 21,000 टन्स प्लस। टुडे इट विल बी मोर। 2013 में एकदम से सोने की जो आयात था उसकी क्वांटिटी बढ़ी, उसमें उछाल आया। उसके साथ साथ दो बातें हुई। एक, भारत के करंट अकाउंट डेफिसिट पर दबाव पड़ गया। हमारा ट्रेड बैलेंस बढ़ गया दो कारणों से। पहले, जो भारत पेट्रोलियम का आयात करता है, उससे पिछले साल 190 अरब डॉलर का, 190 बिलियन डॉलर का ऑयल इंपोर्ट बिल था हिंदुस्तान का, जो विदेशी मुद्रा में जाता है। उसके साथ दूसरे नंबर पर सोना आता है, गोल्ड आता था। इस कारणवश वित्त मंत्रालय ने उस समय ये प्रस्तावना करी कि जो सोना भारत में आ रहा है उसको रिस्ट्रिक्ट किया जाए, उस पर किसी तरह की, ताकि भारी मात्रा में ना आए, कुछ ऐसी उसमें शर्तें लगें जिससे उसमें कमी आए, गिरावट हो। और दूसरा, 20% अनिवार्य रूप से री एक्सपोर्ट हो वैल्यू एडिशन के बाद। पहले ऐसी कोई शर्त नहीं थी। इस कारणवश जुलाई 22, 2013 को रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया ने एक नोटिफिकेशन निकाली। उसमें 80-20 स्कीम जिसको कहा जाता है, उसकी माने यही है कि 80% जो आएगा वो भारत की जेवरात बनाने वाले उद्योग को मिले, और 20% अनिवार्य रूप से वैल्यू एडिशन होके केवल एक्सपोर्टर्स को मिले और वो एक्सपोर्ट करें। और जो एजेंसीज सोना को देश में लाती हैं वो अगला उनको इंपोर्ट करने की अनुमति तब मिलेगी जब वो पहले 20% एक्सपोर्ट का सर्टिफिकेशन देंगे। तो ये किसी को खुली छूट नहीं दी गई बल्कि पाबंदी लगी। रिजर्व बैंक के सर्कुलर में ये भी कहा गया कि केवल मनोनीत की गई थी, नॉमिनेटेड थी एजेंसीज, वही मंगा सकती है सोना देश के अंदर व्यापार के लिए। और वो कौन थे? चंद बैंक देश के, प्रमुख रूप से स्टेट बैंक ऑफ इंडिया और पीएसयूज जो स्टेट ट्रेडिंग कॉरपोरेशंस थी, एसटीसी और एमएमटीसी। उसके अलावा किसी को अनुमति नहीं कि वो सोना देश के अंदर लाएं और ज्वेलरी बिजनेस को वो सोना उपलब्ध कराएं। उसके बाद देश के अंदर जो एसोसिएशंस हैं और एपेक्स बॉडीज़ हैं व्यापार की, ख़ास तौर पे जेम्स और ज्वेलरी काउंसिल, इन सब ने इस पर आपत्ति भी करी और कहा कि इससे कारोबार पर, व्यापार पर बहुत प्रभाव पड़ रहा है। एसबीआई की ब्रांचेस सब जगह नहीं देश में, और जो दूसरे दो एजेंसीज थी एमएमटीसी, एसटीसी, वो कम मात्रा में सोना मंगा पाती थी, साधन की बात थी। और देश के हर हिस्से में जहां सोने की इंडस्ट्री को ज़रूरत थी वो उपलब्ध नहीं हो रहा था। उसके बाद बातचीत जो मंत्रालयों की आपस में हुई उसका ब्यौरा है, और उसके साथ साथ रिजर्व बैंक ने वित्त मंत्रालय, रेवेन्यू, डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ इकोनॉमिक अफेयर्स, वाणिज्य मंत्रालय, डायरेक्टोरेट जनरल ऑफ फॉरेन ट्रेड, इन्होंने आपस में बातचीत करी और काफ़ी समय उसमें लगा इसका समाधान ढूंढने में। और उसका समाधान 14 अगस्त 2013 के एक सर्कुलर में है, जिसमें ये कहा गया कि प्रीमियम ट्रेड हाउसेस और स्टार ट्रेडिंग हाउसेस, उनको भी अनुमति दी जाए, क्योंकि पहले उनको कोई रोक नहीं थी, उन पर कोई पाबंदी नहीं थी, पर जो शर्त है वो उन पर भी उतनी लागू होती थी जितना चाहे बैंक पर या एमएमटीसी या एसटीसी पर, कि 20% केवल एक्सपोर्टर को मिलेगा, 80% बाजार में नहीं देंगे। जो ज्वेलरी इंडस्ट्री है केवल उसी को दिया जा सकता है। और ये जो स्टार या प्रीमियम ट्रेडिंग हाउसेस हैं, ये ऐसा नहीं कि कोई भी किसी को उसको खोल सकता है, उसका एक क्राइटेरिया आरबीआई ने बनाया है। आरबीआई उनको नोटिफाई करती है, रेवेन्यू डिपार्टमेंट, इसमें सरकार के, भारत सरकार के कई मंत्रालय उसमें शामिल होते हैं, और बहुत कम संख्या है देश के अंदर स्टार ट्रेडिंग हाउसेस की। जो भी वो उनके पिछले 3 साल के औसत कि कितना वो उन्होंने एक्सपोर्ट किया है, मेनली एक्सपोर्ट, वही उन्हीं को आरबीआई की तरफ से ये पहचान मिलती है, रिकग्निशन मिलती है। पिछले कल जो कहा गया वो इस सरकार की मानसिकता को दर्शाता है, लोगों को गुमराह करने के लिए, और असली जो मुद्दा है उससे ध्यान हटाने के लिए। असली मुद्दा है जो देश के बैंकों की लूट हुई है, जो पैसा लूटा गया, जो फ्रॉड हुआ, जो अब 27,000 करोड़ के नज़दीक पहुंच रहा है, केवल ये 3 लोगों का, नीरव मोदी, मेहुल चोकसी और विंसम डायमंड के जतिन मेहता। 27,000 करोड़ के फ्रॉड का सरकार कोई जवाब नहीं दे रही, और एक गलत आरोप लगा रही है, ये ऐसा कह के कोई कैसी योजना आई जिससे इन लोगों को फ़ायदा हुआ। जाहिर है कि इनमें से भी कोई लोग जेवरात के कारोबार में होंगे, पर ना तो आरबीआई का सर्कुलर, ना भारत सरकार की नीति जिसको आप पढ़ सकते हैं किसी एक के लिए या किसी एक बिजनेस हाउस के लिए या किसी 5 कंपनीज़ के लिए बनी है। मैं सर्कुलर मीडिया डिपार्टमेंट से कहूँगा कि वो आपके पास भेज दें ताकि आपको खुद मालूम हो जाए कि हकीकत क्या है। Yesterday's statement that was made by Shri Ravi Shankar Prasad is preposterous. He has leveled unwarranted allegations which we reject and condemn. It has become the hallmark of this government that it is deflecting attention, diverting public focus from the real issues, and trying to escape its own accountability in the biggest bank fraud in the history of independent India. The fact is that under the Exim policy, gold import was allowed to be used by the jewelry industry, and there were no conditions that were imposed except only authorized agencies were importing gold, which included the major PSB of the country, the State Bank of India, Bank of Baroda. In addition to that, the 2 trading PSUs or trading arms of the Government of India, the MMTC and the STC. There was a sharp increase in the import of gold because of the festive season. It's normally a trend. The gold imports rise prior to the festive season because Indians, as we know, have a huge appetite for gold, and it is customary, and that's why India is the largest gold importer historically in the world. We are not the producer, but the importer. And we are also one of the largest exporters of jewelry, gems and jewelry in the world. At that time, there was pressure on the current account for 2 reasons. The sharp rise in the petroleum prices, the international price of crude that year was wavering between 105 to 127 US dollars per barrel. And India's trade account was under stress and the gap was increasing. The previous year, India had paid $190 billion for petroleum imports. Therefore, the Finance Ministry had proposed to the Commerce and to the Reserve Bank that steps should be taken to restrict the import of huge quantities of gold so that the outgo of foreign exchange can be controlled. It was further proposed to make it mandatory requirement that the gold imported by notified agencies, and they restricted it only to the State Bank and 1 or 2 other major public sector banks and the 2 trading PSUs, which I have just mentioned. That 20% of the gold imported mandatorily of every lot of import of gold imported in the country be exclusively made available for the purpose of exports, and the balance for domestic use. And domestic use by whom? By the Indian jewelry industry. And they have given a detailed account of the instructions in their annexure. And they have also said, it is the Reserve Bank circular, that this shall be monitored by the custom authorities and will be implemented port-wise. So whoever imports has to give that proof of 20% of export. 20% had to be made available first to the exporters. Only then the rest 80% could be released as per the circular to the Indian jewellery industry. It also says that further nominated banks, nominated agencies and other entities shall make available gold for domestic use only to the entities engaged in jewellery business, bullion dealers and to banks authorized to administer the gold deposit scheme against full upfront payment. These are the Reserve Bank of India. And this circular also says in para 2, referring to the circular of July, that the Government of India and the Reserve Bank of India have been receiving, now this is your Reserve Bank saying, several requests for clarifications on the operational aspects of the scheme of imports put in place in terms of the above circular, that's the 80-20 scheme. And then it gives all the details which are required and also allowed the star or premium trading houses. Now, these trading houses are not named anywhere in the circular, but there is a list available with the Reserve Bank. It's the Reserve Bank which qualifies which trading entity is qualified to be a premium trading entity under the rules. And that's based on the turnover, not only the domestic, but especially the exports. Only they are allowed to import gold and treat it as such as the premium trading houses. So we fail to understand what was the minister trying to say yesterday. Was he trying to say that putting restrictions on gold import was wrong? Does the government means to say that mandatory condition that 20% must be exported with value addition, 100% value addition, that was a wrong decision? Particularly when your current account deficit was stressed and the outgo of foreign exchange was huge. Any sensible ministry, government, or Reserve Bank would try to address this situation rather than ignore it. Now, what this government did, we have not said so since 2014, though it was a wrong decision they made. They had the luxury to do so because the oil, petroleum prices fell to $40 per barrel. So what the country was paying at the time of this decision was more than $110. So they had the luxury to do anything. They removed all the restrictions in November 2014. And they allowed free, liberal import of gold in the country. It is this government which has done so. And it is this government which removed the condition of mandatory value addition and 20% export of all gold that was imported into India. What this government is doing is not only targeted vendetta against the former finance minister of the country, but also excessive vilification. We would like to warn the government today and caution the country that India's governance and administration will be collapsing under the assault of this vendetta campaign of the government, where the integrity of the Reserve Bank of India, integrity of the senior officials of various ministries and departments, those officials who belong to Indian Administrative Service, Indian Revenue Service, a minister should make a responsible statement. Ministers must not be irresponsible. Are they saying that senior officials serving the government were influenced? They all were acting with malafide intentions. The government must answer the real question. When Prime Minister's Office, Reserve Bank of India, Enforcement Directorate and SFIO were forewarned in writing about the bank fraud being committed by Nirav Modi, by Mehul Chokshi, and by Winsome Diamonds, why were they allowed to leave the country? It's a matter of fact and record that PMO was informed. These people are beneficiaries of the patronage. Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad is the law minister. He must understand that the restrictions put on gold imports did not lead to the commission of bank fraud and escape of these perpetrators from the country. It's one of the most absurd things I have heard in my political career, what was said yesterday by the government. They should study. They are intelligent people if they are. They understand the law, if they understand the rules and the functioning of the government of India. This government, through its actions, has cast serious aspersions on many former senior-most civil servants of India, those who served the country for decades and are not in a position to defend themselves. They are being tarred. Their reputations are being torn apart by a Prime Minister and his government, which is keen to have personal vendetta against Shri P. Chidambaram, the former Finance Minister. And here I would like to take this opportunity today to explain to you two more things. First, about the FIPB. FIPB is the Foreign Investment Promotion Board. It was set up after the economic liberalization. It was the BJP NDA government which had taken the decision when Shri Jaswant Singh was the finance minister to take the FIPB out of the DIPP, that's the Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion, and to take it to the Ministry of Finance. So the Secretariat was in the Ministry of Finance, in the Department of Economic Affairs. Any application that is received by the Secretariat, which is dead now, and I'll come to that, mandatorily, it had to go to the line of the parent ministry for scrutiny, and if found in order, it will go in for circulation to 6 secretaries of the Government of India. 6, mind you. There's the Secretary, Department of Economic Affairs, Secretary, DIPP, Secretary, Revenue, Home Secretary, Finance Secretary, Banking Secretary, and of course, what is again mandatory, the Reserve Bank of India. It is only after the complete concurrence, NOCs, security approvals, where security approvals are mandatory for any FDI proposal, then only the FIPB Secretariat will process for approval. No single case has ever been approved by the FIPB. They always go in a bunch, and FIPB used to meet once in 30 days or once in 45 days, depending on their workload. So what this government is saying, or its agencies, that 6 senior secretaries of the Government of India, including the then chairman of FIPB, as many of you would know, but for record, ministers do not chair or participate in any meetings, including of these 6 departments. Neither the Commerce Minister will sit in any meeting or be privy to the deliberations, nor the Home Minister, nor the Foreign Minister, nor the Finance Minister. This should be known. And chair of the FIPB at that time was Dr. Subbarao, who later became the Reserve Bank of India governor. If you look at the list of the officers, some of the most illustrious officers, the Joint Secretary concerned at that time who was dealing with the FIPB is teaching public finance in the National Law University, post-retirement, and also teaches in Harvard. So this government is trying to say that all these brilliant officers of India committed something which was wrong. Though the matter may be sub judice, but this government is guilty of blatant and brazen misuse of power, authority, and of the central agencies, the CBI and the Enforcement Directorate. Future will tell how the governance in India will be affected by what has been done now and what is happening today. Ironically, सरकार ने अपना समर्थन में, आरोपों के समर्थन में ढूंढ कर लाए 11 बरस के बाद एक ऐसे विश्वसनीय गवाह को जो जेल के अंदर हो, वो भी एक संगीन अपराध में। सवाल ये है, और मीडिया इस बात को बेहतर जानते हैं, कि जेल के अंदर इंटरव्यू कौन कराता है? वो भी कत्ल के अपराधी से। उनसे आरोप कौन लगवाता है? बड़ा आसान काम है, क्योंकि जिन्होंने इनकी दृष्टि में नेक काम किया हो, मैं शीना बोरा मर्डर केस का जिक्र कर रहा हूं, ढूंढ कर भी लाए तो क्या लाए, और बात भी जो कही क्या, ये सच्चाई एक दिन सामने आएगी, ताकि देश को ये मालूम होगा कि जो कहा गया वो सत्य नहीं था। पर मुझे इस जो कल रविशंकर प्रसाद जी ने कहा है उस पर सख्त आपत्ति थी, इसलिए मैंने इस बात का खुलासा किया कि वास्तविकता क्या है। और ये सर्कुलर आपको, दोनों सर्कुलर मिलेंगे, आप इनको स्वयं पढ़ेंगे, तब आपको मालूम होगा कि जो कहा गया गलत था और जो किया गया वो ठीक किया गया था, और वो देश के हित में किया गया था, किसी को फ़ायदा पहुंचाने के लिए नहीं किया गया था। और जहां तक इस कारोबार और व्यापार में लोग हैं, प्रश्न ये है, वो सारे के सारे लोग इस कारोबार में जो जेवरात का काम करते हैं, एक्सपोर्ट करते हैं, इंपोर्ट करते हैं, वो सारे के सारे सरकारी संरक्षण में बैंकों को नहीं लूटते। ये मैं स्पष्ट करना चाहता हूँ, ताकि हमारे उद्योग को भी ये आश्वासन मिले कि उन सब को हम फ्रॉडस्टर नहीं कह रहे, स्कैमस्टर नहीं कह रहे, बैंकों के लुटेरे नहीं कह रहे। बहुत लोग अच्छा काम करते हैं, मेहनत करते हैं, रोज़गार पैदा करते हैं, देश के लिए पूंजी अर्जित करते हैं। और जिन्होंने ये किया, आज तक इन बात का जवाब नहीं आया कि डेवोस में फ्रेम फोटो में कैसे पहुंच गए। वो प्रधानमंत्री के साथ फोटो कोई भी खिंचा ले, ये संभव नहीं है जब तक प्रधानमंत्री स्वयं, इनको शौक रहा है, खुद ही किसी के साथ जाके सेल्फी ना खिंचाएं। पर उनको ग्रुप फोटो है, फ्रेम फोटो है, वो पहले से उसकी सिक्योरिटी वेटिंग होती है, एक एक नाम की होती है, व्यक्ति की होती है, और कौन कहाँ बैठेगा दाएं बाएं प्रधानमंत्री के, क्योंकि वहाँ पे भारत के विदेश सचिव भी थे, भारत CEO नीति आयोग के भी थे, बैंकों के मुखिया थे, बड़े उद्योगपति थे। तो कौन पहली पंक्ति में होगा, कौन दूसरी पंक्ति में, कौन तीसरी पंक्ति में, ये भी प्रधानमंत्री कार्यालय तय करता है। ये नहीं कि कोई अपने आप आके कहीं भी बैठ जाए, कहीं भी खड़ा हो जाए। तो वो तो वही थे जो कि भाग के गए हैं। तो ये 80-20 स्कीम ने थोड़े उनको भगा दिया देश से और वहाँ खड़ा कर दिया डेवोस में। ये सवाल है। दूसरा सवाल, मेहुल चोकसी जी को प्रधानमंत्री जी के घर के अंदर कौन लेके गया था? आपके पास विजुअल्स है, उनका नाम लेके प्रधानमंत्री जी कह रहे हैं। अगर 25-30 आदमी प्रधानमंत्री जी के निवास स्थान पर हैं और उसमें मेहुल चोकसी हैं और उनकी खूब तारीफ कर रहे हैं, वही आपको तारीफ मिलेगी जतिन मेहता की जो विंसम डायमंड वाले हैं। मैंने कुछ दिन पहले बात कही थी, कुछ जगह आई कुछ जगह नहीं। सूची निकाल के देख ले कौन 12 कंपनीज हैं प्राइवेट डायमंड कंपनीज जिनको रूस की अलरोज़ा कंपनी जो सरकारी कंपनी है वहाँ से डायमंड का इंपोर्ट करने का समझौते कराए। हम इस बात को दोहराते रहेंगे क्योंकि सरकार की 2 कंपनीज को वो मिलना था, हिंदुस्तान डायमंड कॉरपोरेशन को जो सरकारी कंपनी है PSU और दूसरा MMTC, उनको हटा के 11 दिसंबर 2014 को जब रूस के राष्ट्रपति स्टेट विजिट पर थे प्रेसिडेंट पुतिन, तो सरकारी कंपनी बाहर हो गई और अल रोज़ा के साथ ये प्राइवेट कंपनीज़ के समझौते करा दिए। और उनके कितने अकाउंट हैं, उनमें से कितने विलफुल डिफ़ॉल्टर हैं, आपको मिलेगा कि उनमें से 4 कंपनी के लोग भाग गए। आप मालूम करिए उनमें से कितनों पर CBI का केस चल रहा है, कितनों पर ED का केस चल रहा है। अब मैं अपनी बात को ख़त्म करता हूँ। आपका कोई प्रश्न हो, जो कल मंत्री महोदय ने कहा है, ज्ञान दिया है देश को, उसके बारे में मैं
सर अपने कार्तिक चिदम्बरम इंद्राणी मुखर्जी कह रही है कि शी हैज एवरी एविडेंस इन द मीटिंग ऑफ द विद द चिदम्बरम डेट एंड everything.
listen there are courts in the country. I am talking to you, I didn't take the name. I am telling you about the FIPB procedure and the fact that 6 senior secretaries of the Government of India of that day and any day are involved, are responsible for the decision making. Number 2, I charge this government that they had done away with the oversight and the scrutiny by scrapping the FIPB board itself. Now we have to raise this question. Today, when sensitive proposals are coming for the FDI and where foreign investment approval is required, who is giving the approvals? Where is the coordination? Where is the vigilance clearance? Where is the IB clearance? That's all done away with. These are questions which the country will need answers in the coming months and years. Today there is no coordination. There is no oversight. This is not minimum governance, this is no governance. That's what I am pointing out.
Mr. I got not the point about your 18 to 20 scheme. You brought it on the 15th of May. What was the need to do it when it was in an election day?
I think this is wrong. This was brought in, please see here, 22nd July 2013.
The subsequently...
No. The subsequent notification, my dear friend, is of 14th August 2013. Both the notifications are here. It is wrong what has been said. The circulars, RBI circulars are here. No, not at all. It is the RBI circular. No individual can take this decision.
The Finance Ministry has very categorically stated that on the 15th of May, this decision was conveyed and cleared by Mr. P. Chidambaram and subsequently carried it forward for allowing private players. Earlier it was allowed only for MMTC and other...
No. This is if you read the circular, we are going to make it available. I can read it for your benefit correctly. They says that why they are doing it, the Reserve Bank circular, and what it says. I'll read that part also for you. I'll just read it for you so that it's a long circular. What they say that the imports will be permitted only through the banks, nominated agencies, that's the MMTC and STC, and the premium trading houses. So it says such imports shall be linked to normal quantities of gold supplied, nominated banks and agencies, and which they have elaborated in their circular. Once you go through this, you will realize that this, what is said, is not true. And it's not only that, the conditions imposed are fairly stringent. These are restrictive. The purpose was to restrict and to ensure value addition and exports. So we'll make these circulars available, and I think that answers your question. There are only 2 circulars on gold import and 80-20 scheme of the Reserve Bank of India.
Did they show any proof?
Did they show any proof? I am giving you the proof.
These are documents.
Where is the? I am giving you the RBI circulars. What can be? What is more sacrosanct than this?
Channels are, they only give
You see, I would also like to say that, and this is important, kindly make note. Our media plays a very important role in informing and sensitizing public opinion. To sustain our democracy, true facts must reach our people. If that does not happen, Indian democracy will be in danger. This government is manufacturing documents, spreading canards, and dishing out papers to select channels to subvert the due processes of law, to tarnish reputations, and to mislead the people. So I'm cautioning, please be aware. A time will come when you will have to ask them for the affidavit, for any government source which gives you a manufactured document.
government does not say anything on record.
Government says nothing on record. So kindly go through what I have said, and any other question I'll answer, otherwise I'll say thank you to you.
Now, the other issue is, of course, on the, when you talk about political vendetta against Mr. P. Chidambaram, the CBI has just now given custody to Mr. Kartik Chidambaram for another 3 more days. It's in that context we need to understand that what was his role, how did he become the go-between the finance minister and INX Media, and what exactly is this transaction? Because
No, listen, let me tell you. This is the canard being spread by the government. This is the allegation. We are saying the agencies are doing the bidding of the government. This is a targeted vendetta and vilification. Because don't de-link it from the processes of decision making in the government of India and the approval processes. By doing this, the government has actually torn the reputations of 6 senior secretaries who were serving then. It's not an individual. It is an institutional assault which will create a situation where civil servants of this country will not take decisions. This government does not believe in institutional mechanisms in any case. That's why it has scrapped the FIPB itself. That no questions should ever be asked, do whatever you want. There should be no IB, no Home Ministry, no Foreign Ministry approvals. Let anybody come and do whatever they want without the country knowing what happened. At least we had systems in place. Nobody has asked this question. Yes, please.
No, I was saying, in a follow-up to what Sunil asked, today the Supreme Court refused to grant interim relief also to Karti Chidambaram in the plea for, where Vish moved for prevention of arrest by the ED in another case involving INX Media. So would you then say the courts have
No, no. The courts, eventually, Supreme Court has its own rulings and judgments on bail. That is a matter of right. That is the law. You have to go by the jurisprudence. My understanding of the criminal jurisprudence in India and on the issue of bail, it is a settled issue by this very Supreme Court. The rest, there is always a difference between gossip and gospel, between fact and fiction. Facts and truth will come out, and the gossip and the fiction will be exposed. We are saying there is a process of law in this country. Let the due processes take place. But this government, which is overzealous in this case, had these agencies not been put to or abused for political targeting and vendetta to frame political opponents and persecute them, perhaps the same ED and the same CBI would have been alert, and Shri Nirav Modi, Mehul Chokshi, and the Winsome Diamond Fellow would be in the custody. So those who should be in the custody have gone. That is what I have to say. No. I think the minister of the country should make a very correct statement with full sense of responsibility. CBI's own FIR says that these LOUs were of 2017. Please read the FIR. Second thing, no, let me clarify. Second thing, there are 3 audits. One is the internal audit of the PSP. Second is the vigilance audit. Third is the RBI audit. And all these 3 audits are completed before the end of the financial year. So you can't say 2012. This means for 6 years there were no audits in India. RBI did no audit. SBI did no audit. PNB did no audit. We refused to accept. So now they are going against the law minister, actually contradicted the CBI's own FIR. The LOUs, when they were issued, so who is right and who is wrong? Whether CBI is saying the truth or the PNB is saying the truth, or the law minister is saying the truth. Please go by the PNB complaint. Please go by the RBI statement on this matter. And please go by the CBI's own FIR.
Sir, in the Jatin Mehta case also, there's an immigration report which shows that he was accorded the same visa and English passport in November 2012. November 2012 to 2015.
Samya, let me educate you about this. Please don't take it otherwise. That St. Kitts passport are not issued by the Indian Passport Authority. If somebody goes, listen, if somebody goes and surreptitiously obtains a passport of a tax haven without reporting to the Indian Passport Authority or the Ministry of External Affairs or the Indian Embassy or the Indian Consulate of that region, then how does it matter? When they scooted, when the permission to grant, when was the permission given to surrender the Indian citizenship? Government of India does not issue visas for other countries. Please understand. Government of India neither issues passport for other countries nor issues visas for other countries. Government of India has the authority, and that is the CPV is the agency, the Central Passport Authority of India. CPV is for passports and visa both. It can issue passports, both regular passports, diplomatic passports, and official passports only for Indian citizens who have a right to apply for and get a passport to travel. Number two, the visas are given by the Indian embassies and high commissions throughout the world and Indian consulate generals to those who are passport holders of foreign countries to visit India, whether for tourism or business or official purposes. Indian government does not have a right to issue passports of St. Kitts, nor issue a tourist visa for St. Kitts or for Honolulu or any other place. No way.
Anand, Ravi Shankar Prasad has said that Mr. Mehta left this country in 2013. Are you saying that Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad's facts are not correct, that yours are correct? Who is speaking the truth here? The Congress Party or the BJP?
Let him produce. I have not. Let him produce the passport. And if he has produced his passport, then that will be a very serious issue. This means this government is directly in touch with Jatin Mehta. Otherwise, how do they have his passport details of St. Kitts? Please answer this question now. No. How come the cabinet minister of the government of India is privy to the passport details of an absconder? And that to the passport details of St. Kitts? It's a fundamental question then. No, then let the External Affairs Ministry come out with a categorical statement. Which year was the citizenship given up? And whether the government of India was privy prior to that is citizenship without permission of another country was taken by the concerned person. What I am saying, I am not a policeman. You cannot go and take the citizenship tomorrow of Pakistan without surrendering your Indian citizenship. I'm sorry. So, I have just said, there's a difference between gossip is taken as gospel and fiction as fact.
Government.
As a minister, he also gave a false statement. On 80-20 scheme, the minister was absolutely wrong.
Why aren't you giving the document to us?
No, I am okay. You should monitor their...
What they say. Verify the facts.
अगर रिस्ट्रिक्शन लगाना और शर्तें लगाना मुनाफा पहुंचाना है, जहां पहले कोई शर्त नहीं थी, कोई ये शर्त नहीं थी कि आपको 20% वैल्यू एडिशन 20% थी, वैल्यू एडिशन 100%, उसके बाद 20% एक्सपोर्ट किया जाएगा। ये देश के हित का काम था या देश के हित के खिलाफ का काम था? और आपने उसको हटाकर खुली छूट दे दी कि कोई अब आप जितना मर्जी मंगाओ, आपको कोई वैल्यू एडिशन की ज़रूरत नहीं है, ना ही आपको एक्सपोर्ट की ज़रूरत है। तो किसने ठीक काम किया, ये एक बुनियादी बात है, नीति की बात है। और ये फैसले ऐसा नहीं होता कि बैठ के एक कमरे के अंदर ये निर्णय होते हैं। ये रिज़र्व बैंक की सर्कुलर्स हैं, पॉलिसी जो भी है नोटिफाइज रिज़र्व बैंक करता है। तो रिज़र्व बैंक में मेरी ये समझ है सरकार के कार्यशैली को समझने की कि रिज़र्व बैंक कभी भी इस तरह का सर्कुलर इतने विस्तार से नहीं निकालते जब तक हर चीज़ की वो जांच और हर चीज़ का सही माने में वो उसका परीक्षण नहीं कर लेते। तो ये